Bonjour, je m'appelle Oji et je vais apprendre dans le football.
So I have everything. I have my isotonic gloves today, my juice. So what I need more?
Maybe someone to protect you.
Got the right guy for that. That's for damn sure. Bonjour, Richmond.
All I know is wee, brother. That's about all you gonna get out of me, no matter what you say.
Hi everybody. Welcome to the Fins Up Friday. Great surprise today, Richmond. We have a special guest, one of your guys, man. How are you, Richmond?
I'm good. I'm always wondering about who's gonna be the surprise fan guest, but you done caught one of my teammates and jammed him on the line, and he normally gets a good release. So now I'm about to line him up in a slot receiver position because you done jam my man up. But always good to see my man Juice. Juice, how you doing today?
Bonjour, Richmond.
All I know is wee, brother. That's about all you gonna get out of me, no matter what you say. It's gonna
What
be
I can do
wee.
with that? What I can do with that, OJ? Man, he's just say oui oui. I try to teach him French, but every time he come with oui oui.
Yeah, there's so many more words in the language, Rich. You know what I mean? You can't just use we all the time, man. Yes, all the time.
Juice. I treat it like when we was in the huddle, brother. I don't need to know all them
All
formations.
you listen for is
Give me
protection.
that number and the protection, and I'm good.
60,
Yeah,
50, 70 protection, 80 protection. That's 90. It's all I'm
that's
asking
all I
for.
need. That's it.
Okay, I think I need to make him travel to France, and with the food, with the Eiffel Tower, maybe I can add some words. You know what I mean,
A
OJ?
little wine too now, Dan. You gotta give him a little wine now too, all right?
I gotta have something to wash it down with. Tell him, Juice. Yeah. See.
So, Richmond, by the way, I think it was kind of if you go to Paris, bring me some wine. I think that's what Juice said.
That's right.
Ain't no questions. You know that now. Yeah, we got to ship some of that back. You don't get over there. It ain't like right around the corner. So yeah, you got to definitely send some of that back.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
because we guys start things to like to talk. Let's talk about a very great subject, something that put everybody very happy, very positive, very great feeling about we're going into right season. Let's talk about the Eagles. Man, again, I did a mistake. The Dolphins, sorry, the Dolphins.
Whoa. What show are we on here, Dan? What show are we on here?
Let's talk
Every
about the
week,
Dolphins.
every week. Here you go. Bro. Here you go.
Hey, OJ, by the way, you know that there is a bet in France on how many times Richmond will still doing the show with me. They all think he will be gone by week 10.
No, not big fella. Big fella, he sticks with his team, man.
I'm hanging there
He's
with
a
you.
team guy, man. He's a team guy.
We.
You got him, Dan. As long as you want him, you got him.
You could say because my name is Dan Moreno and that help. I'm not the Dan Moreno, but that help.
Exactly. I had to correct that so you'll know the difference. There ain't no D in front of your name. It's just Dan Marino. Yeah. Big difference. Yeah.
Eh, big subject. Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
1-4. Terrible game at in Carolina last week. I mean,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. How can we go back from this and be at home against the Chargers with a big game, Tua versus Herbert, some narrative? I mean, all the media will talk about that game because we know the story about those two quarterbacks, but
Right.
what we can say about that. First thing I have to ask to Juice, what is your feeling so far about the Miami Dolphins? Great, I guess.
Yeah, frustrating. Very, very frustrating, man. You go back to week one. I mean, that was absolutely embarrassing. I was shocked that I was seeing what I was seeing. Um, a team that I thought was better than they were, especially on the defensive side of the football. But I thought our offense, with all the guys back, same coordinator, same quarterback, one same running back with a couple new running backs, same wide receivers. I just figured that this team is going to come in here and prove everybody wrong because all the pundits were talking about how bad this team was, and I didn't believe it. And I didn't want to believe it because I thought that, going out to practice, going out to training camp, seeing those guys work, I thought that, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. But sure as hell, they proved us right in week one. New England game in week 2, they had a chance. They should have beaten a team in New England. New England's proven to be a little better. I mean, the fact that they beat Buffalo in Buffalo helps us out. That's not a bad loss anymore like it was then. Then they had a chance to beat Buffalo in Buffalo. I mean, they weren't supposed to, but they had a chance to. But then, they get the home win they're supposed to get against the Jets on Monday night. The Jets are that bad. And Richmond, you know this, when you wear rivalry jerseys or you wear something special, you better go out there and represent it. You're gonna look like idiots, So they went out there and handled that. But the Carolina loss put me back to where I thought, that loss right there was big for us. I thought that there's nowhere in the world we lose to Carolina Panthers. They're a team that was in the same record as us at 1-3, looking for answers. And I thought that we'd solve a lot of our problems. Like I talked about, we got better and better and better week 1 through 5. And then week 1 through 4, and then week 5 comes along and we run into the Carolina Panthers. Perfect situation for us. And obviously it wasn't. So me more than anything, Dan, is I'm disappointed in that performance. I'm very disappointed in that performance. Another chance, I mean, Rich, we know this is NFL. Anybody can win. It really is any given Sunday. People talk about that being a cliche, but you better be ready to go. You got to strap it up every single week because every team is going to be gunning for you. And I'm thinking like, well, we can beat the Panthers, but the Panthers probably looked at us and said, hell, we can beat the Dolphins.
Exactly.
They're 1-3. Why can't we beat them? And they did. They went out there and they made plays. They did things that we couldn't do in a very, very frustrating situation. I mean, and the road doesn't get any easier for this team. It does not get any easier. They've got a lot of work to do, and they got a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, I agree, Juice. You're a lot more direct than I am, but you're not lying. I think this team definitely has underachieved. And I was at the Carolina game, and I think what was so disturbing, disheartening about that game was we were up like 17 points or whatever, and then
17-0.
Let them come back when that typically you can close the door on a team, and we left the door open and let them come back in, and we really didn't get much done the second half of the game, and then to lose it the way we did, we just stalled out and we didn't have any more. But you're right. As much talent as on this team, nobody. If you would have, I think anybody would took that bet. The Dolphins 1-4 after 5 weeks, especially the opponents that we had to face. That would have been an easy bet to take, but it would have been a lot of people with had money, and there's been a lot of us that had to make those debts good. So it needs to get turned around. If not, it's just going to continue to spiral out of control. We got the Chargers this week, but they're playing. I mean, they lost Sunday, but I've watched them a couple times, and they are at least competing. At times, it just seems like we're not even competing. I think that's the thing that I think disturbs some of the former players and the fans that really understand what they're looking at. Sometimes we look like we're getting it going, and then be like, "Man, what happened?" So, yeah, that's the tough part about it.
Yeah, and Richmond, in that Carolina game, you talk about us being up 17-0. The next drive, if we go down and find some points in that next drive, I got an idea that the Carolina Panthers might fold at that point. And so we don't. We punt the ball away, and then we let them go down there and score.
Yep.
And then that's when it all began. Punt, 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 punt. We get a touchdown in the fourth quarter for finally get a touchdown. Then we have to punt, and then what the hell we were doing at the end of that game, punting again.
Yeah.
When we're down at the touchdown,
you got to go.
It made no sense to me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that need to get figured out with this football team. And it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's the defense. It's Mike's calling plays. It's Tua's inability to close out in fourth quarters. There's so much that's going on that contribute to losing football games. The first few games, the special teams lost us football games. Running into punters, roughing punters. We score a touchdown on a punt return, then we give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. Things like that, man. There's so much dysfunction right now. It's frustrating as former players because we sit there and we watch how we operated. We know how we did things. If we get the ball last, Richmond, we're going down and scoring. With Danny and you and all of us, we were going down and score. We wanted the ball last, actually. Give us a chance. That's all we wanted was a chance. And more often than not, we came through. That's the frustrating thing about this team. Do I trust this team in the fourth quarter? And absolutely, I do not.
Yeah, it's you couldn't have told Dan to come off the field if we were in there
No.
and we need a touchdown, and he's like, no, I got to go for it. Where everything says, well, if you don't get it, you leave the other team in great field position. That wasn't his mentality. Like you said, the penalties, the mental errors, man, we harped on so much of that, so much, just not on Sundays, but every day. And then, Mike Westhoff, because, Juice used to return punts, and then, they finally took him out of that. But I think he really loved doing it because he was such a great prolific player, not only in the pros, but even at Penn State. That was just a natural for him. But, he was like, you get too valuable, they're like, no, bro, we're going to find somebody else. You come on.
We have to
Dan
remember.
probably told him, say, hey, Dan said, get his ass off of there. Come on, you need to go here. So,
It's good that you put that on the line, Richmond, because OJ, yes, did put some returns, great, but he also has a record about not fumble the ball for a long time. I think it's another fault. Juice, it's Jarvis Landry, or I think broke the record, but he was not just tough on the field. I mean, to put him took off the ball on his head, it was also very difficult. So I want to put that online because I think it's so good to remember that OJ, you was and you still a tough guy. So I don't want to have any trouble with you in Miami if I'm come one day, because I will have a bad time.
Yeah, then I'm just crazy. I'm not tough. Richard will tell you, I'm just crazy, man. To do what I did, go across the middle, my size and weight, returning punts and kickoffs, you gotta be a little crazy, man. And I think that's good for football players. You gotta have a little bit of a loose screw to play football. Otherwise, you're too passive, man. And passive doesn't play in this league. You gotta have some aggression or some craziness. And I think I had a little bit of both.
And it works very well.
I probably still do, Dan. I probably still do.
That's why I still calm. I stay calm. I always say good things because I don't want any problem. Hey, by the way, for me, this game was kind of a go back to reality. I mean, we were kind of in a good mood, like you say, Juice, against the Bills, unexpected close game. The win against the Jets, we were like, okay, with the Panthers, we think we could won that game. It was a 2-3, and we go to 3-3 against the Chargers. That was maybe what everybody thought. So the way we lost, it's a kind of go back to reality, because we had to keep in mind Waller hasn't had a ball in the entire second half.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's kind of the defense adjust, and the offense was unable to answer to that. It's kind of, we were like, can you imagine Malik Washington having 4 receptions, 0 yards? Probably all screen pass, by the way, I guess it has.
Correct.
It's kind of not just the players maybe still to step up. It's also kind of, we have to be better in every decision we make in terms of play calling, or understand a little bit the game. I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to be disrespectful.
I will say something more. I will say more, Dan. How about that? I'll say more. You're right. You're right. All that is inexcusable. You talk about guys that were having a hell of a first half. When we lost Tyreek, you're wondering where the ball was going to be going, and what Tua did was distribute it around the field, man, and everybody got a chance to eat in the first half, and that's the way to do it. Darren Waller's his snaps are up from 16 to 32, but at the same time, though, why don't you try to find a way to get him involved?
Yeah.
Everything about Malik you said is right. Everything was a screen. Let Malik run some option routes like I used to run, some crossers, some shallows. He's going to catch the ball 3 or 4 yards and going to get you 5 or 6 more, or bust you for 20, 25.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the game plan a lot of times when it comes to Mike and what he's doing. Another situation, Ollie Gordon's not getting a lot of opportunities. I know we love Achane. He's a great running back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course, Richmond feels that way because of where he's from. You know what I mean? But but at the same time, though, Ollie Gordon's a guy that'll get us downhill, get us in manageable down and distances, and Mike kind of loses sight of that. The fact this team only ran 55 plays, it told you we put the ball in the air a lot, the ball's on the ground a lot, and we punted the ball a lot. The other team, they ran 70-something plays. Carolina ran 70-something plays. They had very good distribution. They had great balance. That's something that we don't have, man. And then you flip it to the other side. Our defense, they're I never thought they'd be this bad.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to be on the edges, our corners. We thought our cornerback play was going to be rough. But hell, we get beat up so much up the middle in the trenches that they don't have to throw the rock against us, man. They just run it down our throats. You got a backup running back with over 200 yards rushing. Those things are unacceptable in this league, and you've got to find a way. We had to find a way to make Bryce Young beat us, and we didn't. He didn't have to.
Yeah,
he didn't have to, and that comes down to play calling situations, guys not in the right fits. So many things that happened that led to that disaster of a game, and it really does, start with hell. What are our coaches and our coordinators calling that's not putting our guys in the right position to be successful?
Yep, it's definitely a chess match. Everybody got good players, but you got to put your players in position to maximize their talent and give them an opportunity to win. And like you said, if you can't stop the run, you got to be able to stop the run in order for them to force them to pass. And they had the option of whatever they want. We've really struggled against the run. I think that's the biggest thing that really surprised me about this defense, especially coming off last year, because they were so good and efficient against the running game, and for it to just go totally opposite from last year, I think it's just puzzling. It's just It doesn't make sense.
So I try to find a way to always bring my isotoner gloves on the screen. So if you try to do a resume, back to reality, it was embarrassing. I mean, 200 plus yards in the round in a happy pass league, not acceptable, especially when we just have 19 yards with Etchen, by the way. So I'm not put that on Etchen, but it's not good. Tua has been sacked multiple times. In 2023, they were all about slant and drag most of the time. And in this game, we didn't try much about those type of plays. So it's kind of disturbing. The defense have to answer, the offense have to answer. Now we can do correct the past. It happened. What do we need to do for next week, for this weekend? You guys have been there. You guys have been lost some game, maybe not in that way. You have to respond. What needs to be the mentality for the next game? And we know it's not just about the player now. I mean, the entire league knows. And most of the time when the offense have been adjusted, we didn't answer. That's a huge problem.
Well, Dan, you know what? I mean, offensive coordinators, defense coordinators, offensive coordinator being, basically Mike McDaniel. They call plays, and what we have to do, Richmond, we got to go execute them.
You got to execute them, yeah.
You got to execute them. But you also got to put us in the right position. But these guys have to go out there and execute. I think that from what I've been hearing a little bit about the defense is they've been kind of doing their own thing instead of doing their job, their responsibility. There's some gaping holes I've seen some running backs run through. Richmond can still run through some of those holes if you gave him the rock right now. He'll get you 5 real quick. Right, Richmond?
Man.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not running through them holes.
But I know, real all seriousness. So, guys have to go out there and execute game plans. But Dan, you hit it on the head though. How many times is the halftime adjustment not adjusted to what they've adjusted to? You only have 12 minutes at halftime, and there's not much you can do. You can do some things, but if you make one little tweak, it could be a difference maker. We have not had the ability. We have not adjusted very well at halftime coming out to the second half of the football game where we've got to go out there and continue what our dominance was. Of course, when we get out to a 17-point lead, they're going to go and look at stuff and see what we're doing, and they're going to make some adjustments. What is our second half plan? That's what bothers me more. We didn't really have a very good second half plan. We thought that we could just continue doing what we were doing and it's going to work out. Next thing you know, we punted the ball 5 times in a row.
I think for me, I think it's got to be an attitude. And I think what I don't see enough people pissed off that we're in the position that we're in. Players on the sideline, every now and then you might see a helmet, flew, OJ played with Brian Cox. I mean, I played with OJ. I mean, if things weren't going right, certain guys, Dan gonna be pissed off. You're gonna hear the voices you need to hear to be like, man, we got to wake up and get this together. And
Yeah.
just from watching on TV or watching the body language, it just seemed like, well, we didn't get it. Let's go to back to the sideline and we'll try it again when we come out. But it's no sense of urgency or people just pissed off like, man, we're better than this. I don't see that. And I could be interpreting wrong, but I just don't
No.
see it. And I think that's the thing that's disturbing.
Webby, you're so right, man. And I love Tua. I love Tua personally, man. He's a great guy. He really is. I do not like seeing him sitting on the sideline with the defense out there and not looking at anything. Like Danny's look at the film. Remember, they had to run the film down from the press box for Danny. And as soon as that series is over, they run it down and Danny's flipping through and seeing what he can do, what we can do. I see Tua, like I said, I love the guy, but I see him sitting over there. They've got iPads now, whatever they're using these days, man, which are it's amazing the technology they have to run plays back where you can see everything you want to see. But I need attitude. I need a dog in my quarterback. And I see a lot of quarterbacks that have some dog in them. I saw it all weekend long. Back and forth. The guy that had the ball last is going to win. It was like, I mean, that's what you got to have, man. And maybe we don't have that. Maybe Tua is a nice guy. He's a docile guy. He's a hell of a football player. But we need a little more bite out of that dog, man. And, I watch a guy like Baker Mayfield, who's become one of my favorite guys to watch. He's got so much dog in him, Richmond, that, you know what I mean, that it's almost detrimental to him sometimes. But I'd rather take that and going the other way, bro. You know what I mean? So I just want Tua to be more involved, man, because if you're going to be a captain, you're going to be a leader. We've got a lot of quiet captains on the team. We got a lot of guys that wear the C that are kind of quiet.
Yeah.
You need some guys that are a little more boisterous, that speak up a little bit. That like me, I was usually mad, Richmond, because they wouldn't throw me the rock, man.
No, you wouldn't. No, you
wouldn't. Especially if we wasn't winning, that then I really got to come at them a little bit, man. But more than anything, man, I just felt like I have a defensive mentality playing offense. And I want everybody to have that. And I guess everybody they don't have that, Richmond,
But you know what? You brought up some good points, Juice. And I think about, like you say, Dan, Tom Brady, like the offensive line, we would go down there. And if they were running stunts, our line coach would be going over, okay, if they do this to us again, this is how we're going to pass it off, this and that. Well, Dan, he going to look at the sheets. And even if he don't get with the receivers, he going to get up, get him some water. He going to come over there. He want to know, Juice, how is this guy playing you? He's going to go through all the receipts, and he'll be like, okay, if he does this next time, you do this. And that it was like the coordinator didn't have to make he could call the same play, but if Dan figured out what they were trying to take away from OJ, he'd be like, okay, well, just do this next time, and I'm going to get it to you. But all that's with communication. And I know communication was important for the offensive line, but it's also communication is good for everybody, because now OJ knows, okay, if this guy, instead of me trying to release out here, I can head fake him, come underneath, and then gonna get it to me because we've already talked about it. And I think that's what, because like you say, now they got the iPads or the pads, and you can look at them or whatever. But
the Microsoft, whatever it's called,
that thing. When you're on the sideline, you got to be getting prepared for the next time you go out there and say, okay, they stopped us this time, they're not going to stop us this time.
Yeah, but is it not also coming from also the, I'm a manager on my company. So most of the time I have to show the example, you know what I mean? So it's not just asking for that. I have to be that guy. Is the coaching staff asking that also to involve in this or not? Because I'm feeling that it's
well, Dan, I think it's either in you or it's not in you. You know what I mean? You can't you got a dog. You got a dog, so you got a Rottweiler or some vicious dog. You can't make that dog bite. They either bite or they don't bite. So it's always like, and Richard, you remember this, man. We have team meetings sometimes, and maybe even players only meetings, and you'll get some guys up in front of the meeting talking, that we're like, man, please, you don't even, we ain't listening to you, because you ain't, you don't do things the right way. You don't, you know what I mean? So you got to have guys that's what they do. I came in day one fiery, because that's always been my personality. I was toned down a little bit my rookie year because I had to find my way. But the dog came out of me, man. If they don't have it in you, man, they don't have it in you. We got to get 51 guys out there that you would not want your daughter to marry. You know what I mean? And then 2 other guys that you might, maybe the kicker, punter, whatever. But you got to have some dogs out there, man. I mean that as a jokingly. That's
Yeah.
a joke for me. But at the same time, though, you got to have some guys that are out there that are tough as hell, tough as nails, and refuse to be beaten out there, man. Like, and I'm not saying our guys don't refuse it, but sometimes I think we just accept it. And I get mad after the game. Like, hell, it'd be hard to interview me after a loss. Then I'm telling you this, it'd be like after a loss, come to my locker, and it might be some explicatives out there that I might put out there. I might get fined, whatever. But I just think football is such a game where you got to have that edge, man. You got to play on the edge. I think the offensive linemen have to be some dogs. Now, Richmond and Keith, they were dogs, but they were quiet dogs. You know what I mean? That you don't want to mess. You don't want to wake them up. And they handle their business so well like that. They handle their business so well like that. Where some other dude might be talking trash, but Richmond just smile and then he just handles you. Other guys need more motivation, and I'm looking for that. See these guys being motivated out there a little bit more.
And you're absolutely right, OJ, because I can have some images on Bruce Smith trying to, I mean, trash talk or little wake
Trying
up,
to.
and he stay calm. And you know what? You're talking about your mentality, Juice, but it's all about back in the time. You have Don Chula probably not accept you don't you would not be a dog, but also you have Duper and Clayton. I mean, they were,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about you, Duper, and Clayton, the 3 best wide receiver in the East. I mean, not the 3 best, but one of the 3 best. I have to be careful about what I say, but one of the best.
Yeah,
And Clayton,
man.
okay, Clayton is. You can see him like this, huh?
Bro, I'm not even look, man. Paul Warfield first, Clayton second, Duper and Nat Moore 3-3, and then I'll take that 4 or 5 spot. I mean, we've got a great lineage of guys that were dogs out there, man. I talk with Clayton and Duper all the time. We chat, even like Duper and I are at every home game. And I look down, I see guys like going off the field. I said, Dupe, you would never go off the field, would you? He said, nope. I see, in critical moments. I remember Clayton, they were coming to take him out of a game one time. He said, I ain't going out. He said, we're going to have 12 men in the huddle if you don't get out, send the receiver out of there. So that's the type of mentality you're talking about, man. It's like it's a very nice atmosphere, in Dolphin camp, but they've got to start, getting a little bite in them. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and so, but we cannot forget the Chargers. It's a very tough team. I mean, okay, they have to all step up, but it's a different level. But if you compare to the Panthers, so they will really need to step up, but into another level, not just step up into not being embarrassing. Now you are this is a competitive team. This is a team who is
Yeah.
trying to be there in February. Or I will be there. I will say January 1st. They want to play. They want to play the playoffs. So this is a great moment. I mean, I'm not speaking about what the Dolphins can be in the next few months, but winning against the Chargers, you change the set. It's not just about okay, we're looking for the first picks next season. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Nah. Yeah. And you know what? Their backs are against the wall, man. This isn't like baseball, not playoff baseball, but regular season baseball. You got 162 games. You lose one game, you got two, or, you play the next day and the next day and the next day against the same team. You can still go 3-1 against that team. Every single week is critical in the NFL. And, it gets no bigger than where we're at right now. 1-4 right now. 12 games to play. You've got the Chargers, you got the Browns, you got the Falcons. You've got to find a way. You've got to find a way to get to 500 to even have a chance at anything special. We're so tired of being, 8-9, 9-8. Back in the day when there were 16 games, we were 8-8, 9-6. We got to get past all that. We should be better than that right now. And so they have to realize, the cliche, you got to get the 1-0 this week. They got to start with the Chargers. You know, another AFC game, another game at home. You know, Richmond. Hell, with our 8-game home schedule, we were 6-2, 7-1 all the time. You have to be.
Got to win them.
You know, and then you try to go 500 on the road. That's the recipe. But then when you lose, you're 1-2 against your division. You know what I mean? Which is already a problem. Now you're talking about another conference game, which we have to go out there and win. You know, there's so many things that can add up to us, trying to make a run into the playoffs. And I'm talking playoffs. I get it. We're 1-14. But look, there's nobody out there that's trying to run away with anything in any division, any conference. Yeah, look, it's wide open still. And there's going to be some more upsets. There's going to be more New England versus Buffalo. There's going to be more, Denver, going and beating Philly. There's going to be more of that this year. And we got to be some of those teams that go in there and do things that is not expected of us. But it starts this week with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Rich, some words to add?
Yeah, it's at a point now that we've been saying the same thing. You've been beating on this drum, but it's got to be a mindset change, and you got to say, hey, are you tired of it or not? Or are you gonna try to salvage this season, or are you gonna just shut it down and make your paper? It's some decisions got to be made, and either you're gonna be on board to do it or not. Is it gonna be easy? No. And it's like you said, it's not even about the playoffs. It's about playing for pride, week in, week out, and giving your best. Even if you lose a game, the other team should feel like, man, I'm glad we escaped that one, because that if you do that, I can live with it. But
Right.
that's got to be the mentality. If it doesn't change, it's gonna be a long season. So
yeah. And before we end the show, we have a little surprise for you, OJ.
Oh.
Today I make you a surprise. I will tell you why. I'm always saying that football is a great sport, and it's a sport that can become one of the greatest sports worldwide for the next decade. These sports have the potential. But you know what? You play in a time that football was not very famous in France. You also play in a time that we don't have internet, so we can't have the same news that we had before. You know what I mean? For example, for those who don't saw the Miami Dolphins between 83 and 93, they can understand how great was Mark Clayton, by the way. And if you put that into context, and in his era, he's an Hall of Famer. But anyway, I can change that, but there is still a way to make him in the Hall of Fame. But OJ, you inspired people, and you didn't know you inspired people back in that time. You were playing, and you probably think that you played, and you played for America. You know what I mean? But this is not true. You have someone, and there is other, but I didn't met them. But I know someone who play American football, who play wide receiver position in the 90s in France, a sport that no one was playing, because of you, man. Just because of you.
Really?
Yeah, man. You know what? And this is what you are, a legend, man. Because you did something that it was unexpected back in that time. Back in that time, in the 90s, in France, every people in France were talking about Michael Jordan. You have to remember that. But someone play American football for you, and I want just to asking you that. If he show up today, would you be agree and cool with that?
Absolutely.
So I ask him to enter?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so this is it. This is Erwan, the only one. Erwan. OJ, Erwan, I let you guys alone. You guys have a few minutes to talk together. Erwan, if you have something to always want to say to OJ, it's today. And Juice, it's my way to tell you how much I appreciate you, I respect you, and I can say I love you, man. So good time for
love
us.
you too, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's share the love. Thank you. Hi, OJ. How are you?
What's going on, boss?
It's good. It's good. It's quite impressive to have here two first rounder. That's wow. I don't know what to say. It's, incredible. I wouldn't imagine that this moment would come in my life at one point. So
when I got lucky, man.
That's great.
I got lucky, man.
Yeah.
I got lucky. Got drafted by a great team, man. I got to come to South Florida, man. I'm very, very lucky, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and I always I'm still playing flag football right now because the real football is too heavy on the
Yeah, don't
body.
do that. Don't do
So,
that anymore, man. No, don't do
I'm too old for that.
that.
So I'm playing flag football, which is already tough enough.
Right.
So I just wanted to ask you, what, for instance, when you're going for a catch, everything, all the conditions are good. You just have to catch the ball, and somehow you drop it. What is what would be your advice to avoid this kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all concentration, man. I think catching the football is all about your eyes. It's all about your
Hmm.
eyes. And sometimes we had guys that dropped footballs and they went and got their eyes tested because it's all about your eyes and your focus. When the ball's in the air, Edward, it's only you and the ball. Nobody around you
Yeah,
matters, man. So, like when I played, no matter what, whether I caught it or dropped it, they're going to hit me anyway. So I might as well catch the ball, right? So your
yeah,
focus really has to be strictly on you and the football in your hands, and that's it. Everything else doesn't matter, man, because bottom line as a receiver, our job is to catch football. So the
yeah.
focus, the
At the end
focus
of the
is
day, that's
always the
it.
key, man. When it's in the air, all you do, your eyes might get big. They might, if you're trying to sell a catch, but it's all about you and your eyes in that football.
All right.
But
Okay.
you know what
I
though?
will try
Everybody's
next time.
dropped
I will try.
passes though, man. Everybody has dropped passes. He who's never dropped a pass has never had a pass thrown to him. So it happens, but
True.
you got to keep it as rare as possible.
True. 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 Thank you. Uh, I have another point. Um, what was your I mean, I don't know if your ritual or your habits before the games. How would you kind of put yourself in your comfort zone and or isolate, or I don't know what was your thing?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, it was always about trying to stay in the same routine. Um,
Yeah.
game day, when I'm driving to the stadium or I'm going to the stadium, I'm listening to a soundtrack of music that I really, really like, that's motivating, that gets me pumped up. I get to the locker room, or very routine. I like to lay my uniform out, see how it looks, because I always felt like if you look good, you're going to play good. I go over some of my
Yep.
plays, some of our game planning, and I just wanted to focus on some of the things. Most of my preparation for game day happened Monday through Saturday. All the mental work, all the
Uh-huh.
film work, all that stuff already happened. So I just had to reinforce that when I was like going over a little bit of my game plan on Sunday before the game. And then I just wanted to go out there and play. I couldn't be out there. Some guys go there hours and hours before kickoff. I wanted to be there right there 2 hours before kickoff, go in, lay my uniform out, get my ankles taped, go out there and do pregame, and then at 1 o'clock I want to go out there and be ready to ball. So just keeping everything really simple, but really streamlined with my timeline, and then focus on what I already knew that I've already prepared for all week long.
But did you have something like wears always the same thing, the same socks or stuff like that, or the same food, just to
Always the same
get
food.
the
Always the same food. Even for breakfast, it'd be chicken and pasta. You know what I mean? Something
oh
very grilled
cool.
chicken and some pasta, just like get some carbs in. And
Yep.
some guys don't eat it all. I couldn't go out there on an empty stomach, but so I was a light eater, but I had to have something in my stomach. Um, and then when it came to everything else, man, it was like just normal for me to be able to, I drink a lot of water, make sure I want to be able to run all day. I don't ever want to come out of the football game with cramps or anything like that. The only thing that would get me out of the game is injury, knock on wood. I only had a couple of those incidents. But I mean, for the most part, man, it was like that ritual of just eating the same thing, listening pretty much the same music. It was like nonstop for me. I did the same things over and over and over again. I only, in the uniform, I was already prepping my uniform, like my cleats.
Yeah.
I started working on my cleats on Friday before a game. I'll tape them up, loosen them up so they're not brand new on my feet, but they're nice and loose. But I want to make sure they were clean going on game day. So that's why I taped them up so they didn't get dirty during the walkthrough on Friday. Socks was always an issue. I'm cutting my socks, lengthening my socks, making sure they were perfect. Uniform had to be perfect because they do a great job of tailoring our uniform. So it was always about the look for me, because that was always part of my mindset that if I look good, I'm going to play good.
All right. Good. Cool. And maybe one more question. How was it so unique to get those passes from Dan Marino?
Oh man,
What was his special?
dude.
From
Yeah, man. Danny his fastball was incredible, man. Ball was coming at a coming at you hot. He'd throw you open a lot of times, whereas soon you turn around, the ball's on you. And he did a great job of protecting us over the middle. You know, a lot of these quarterbacks might throw it high, and they can get away with it now because you really can't hit receivers. But back then, they could hit receivers that were jumping up for balls. Danny did a great job of protecting us over the middle. He could see the DBs and see the safeties coming after us, man. It took very good care of us, man. So just an honor being able to come out of Penn State as a wide receiver and play with a guy like Danny, man. It was the best, absolute best, man.
He was also from Pennsylvania, I think, if I'm not
mistaken.
He's
from Pittsburgh.
Not Penn State.
Yeah, he's from Pittsburgh. Yeah, we didn't like each other at first. Pitt versus Penn State, we didn't like each other. But we're cool now, though. We're cool now.
Of course, you had to. Great. Thanks a lot.
Very much, OJ, to allow this to happen.
So sorry, Dan. It was not about you. It was about the other Dan.
I try to.
The other Marino.
I try to. I try to keep in mind because I'm learning Italian, by the way. So I maybe had to be careful. You know what? You remember the movies between with Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro, the baseball movies with the fan with the number. You remember that? So I try to be careful to not be that guy.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
Hey, Erwan, thank you very much. Richmond always told me you want to have fun, but it want also to make it special. So I try to do the same for OJ today and you. I think it shows that it's not fake. It's a real moment we have all together, and I'm happy to make that happen because last time we couldn't. So now we make it happen. Thank you, everyone, and I will let.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Pleasure talking to you, bro.
And I will let OJ and Richmond end up the show.
All right, Juice, man. Hey, man, I know your time valuable, so for you to take time, I appreciate it. I always show you love. You always show me love, and I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, you and Seth. And even though we're going through rough times, it's nothing like seeing the guys you went to war with, and so that'll be the highlight. I'll be an honorary captain, Miss Erica.
Okay. Big sexy come with the big jacket, huh?
Get out in that humidity one more time. They're going to see some sweat on the brow. But, man, thanks again. And I appreciate that because I think, you already know because you do so much for the fan base. But you just made Erwan's day. And when he told me that, and I said, yeah, OJ will do that. But, yeah, it's the little things that he'll never forget a moment like that. And so I appreciate you doing that. And I'll see you this weekend, brother. I appreciate it.
Man, Webby, man, I'll do anything for you, bro, because you're my guy, man. You know that, bro. And I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I'll come on anytime you want me to, man. And we're always gonna be Dolphins fans, man. We might be frustrated, man, but we're not going anywhere else. This is our squad, man. We're gonna ride or die with them. We can be frustrated all week, and we're gonna cheer them on this weekend, man. And I'll make sure I take a picture of you on the jumbotron when you walk out there for the coin toss.
All right, brother. Well, thanks again. Have a great day, man, and I'll see you this weekend.
You got it, brother.